Thank you. Got it. Thank you, Erin. So we're going to, so first of all, I just want to say, I think it's, from our perspective, been a successful start of the year from the PTA. If you heard Natalie's update, we already have 110 members, which is pretty good. That was not too far off of where we topped out last year. So I think we're off to a good start. We had our Cougar kickoff picnic. We've already had 2 restaurant nights and are gearing up for science fair and book fair right around the corner. So it's, I think, been a good start to the year. And I thank everybody who's been involved in volunteering, etc. So with that, I am going to hand it over to Ms. Prin for the principal's update.
Hey, Mr. Jane and I are going to do it together. I'm going to talk a little bit about the upcoming fall kind of Halloween celebration, where we're going with it as a school. Many schools in Montgomery County have moved from the actual Halloween to fall festivals. And the reason for that is around the number of students that do not participate in Halloween specifically because of culture or religion. Previous to the pandemic, because we really had not done a lot since the pandemic hit, we usually had anywhere from 65 to 100 students not participate. We always, some parents would come and pick children up early, or if they stayed, we often tried to, we provided an alternate activity in the media center or somewhere away from where the parade and the hoopla was going on. It's very challenging to navigate that with staff that want to honor other cultures and religions, while still keeping the traditions that so many of our students and children look forward to. So our instructional leadership team met and really kind of took this topic on. And what was decided, because through the pandemic, we sort of made the shift anyway. There was a lot of positive feedback from students and staff about last year's Fall Spirit Week, which was held the week of Halloween. And if you're new to Maryvale, it would be, there was like Wednesday was Apple Joke Day for Fall Harvest. We did Crazy Hair Day for the actual Halloween day. And then because we weren't inviting families into the school last year, even though we were back to person, teachers provided a 1-hour celebration with a game, a craft. We did not do snacks because we were still social distancing and wearing masks. So I know the children missed the food option in the classroom, but we tried to do the best we can. So this year, just like we did with open house, we're coming back. What we decided that we would move towards is keeping the Fall Spirit Week celebration, which would be the week, Halloween actually falls on that Monday, October 31st. So teachers felt pretty strongly that they wanted it the week before. And so the week before, we're doing a Fall Spirit Week with minor updates to what we did last year. We got teacher feedback and student feedback about how to elevate it even better. They didn't want apple jokes. They want any kind of fall jokes. So things like that they gave. Friday of that week, which will be the day we're going to do a celebration, is going to be Crazy Hair, Crazy Wear. So students who want to come in costume can do it. Students who don't want to participate can do crazy hair, just crazy wear, or come as they are. That day we will be doing class celebrations. We can do food. It needs to be store-bought food because of allergies, but we will do food, and we're asking teachers to work with their class to decide, what does an hour-long celebration what do you want for an hour-long celebration? Because what kindergartners want could be different than what our fifth graders want. So we're moving away from the parade, which is a little hard for me personally, because that's all I ever known, and I'm old. But it's really, I can understand the reasoning, the teachers' feedback on it. And I have seen the number of students that are excluded from that activity because of culture or religious beliefs. And if we really are truly an all-inclusive, respecting all cultures, all religions, we need to move with that thought in mind. So we are going to do a fall themed Spirit Week. We will do a fall harvest celebration, and it will be on that Friday prior to that Halloween night, which is Monday. And we will allow students to come on that Friday, crazy hair, crazy wear, or both. So I wanted to share that. If there's any questions about that, I'm happy to entertain them.
So then that all sounds great, but just the translation is that there will not be anything on Halloween proper, right?
Correct.
That's fine. Just asking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And if kids want to wear their like actual Halloween costume on Crazy Day, that's okay, even if it's like a zombie or something weird.
Yeah, crazy wear. That's what we're going to consider crazy wear. So
okay.
We're happy to do it. We just don't want costumes that would, like that they bring. I don't know. This is really
no weapons.
That my kids always wanted to go as a ninja and carry those nunchucks and the ninja things, and so we would ask that those accessories stay home. Welcome to wear the ninja costume. Just keep the accessories at home. But like if they're coming, I don't know, firemen, you can wear the helmet, you can wear, the tools. And usually when kids come to school, if they want to participate, are allowed to participate and haven't, our linkages to learning and our school counselors invite students in, and we do face painting. We can do some crazy hair options for kids that come and want to participate but didn't have the means to do that. We have extra costumes that we've collected over the years. So as long as parents allow them, then we will support in any way we can. And then Mr. Jane's going to follow up with a few more of our updates.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming yesterday to our open house. I counted all the numbers of people that came by on our sign-in sheet, and we had a total of 199. And it was great to have everybody in the building. It was an amazing turnout. And I can't tell you how many people were just stopping by to say thank you. And it felt great to have people back in the building. And it was another sense of our return to normalcy. So just wanted to give everybody an idea of how many people showed up. Interims, which is, can you believe it? We're at that point where we're talking about being halfway through the first quarter. Interims on Parent View are going to be available October 13th. On October 24th, we're going to have Professional Day. So there's not going to be any school for students. And finally, the CARES tutoring, which is sort of funding that comes from, in essence, COVID and our recovery plan. There's going to be CARES tutoring. So what we've done is we've looked at all the data that we have right now so far available to us in the fall. So all students just completed their fall map. We have some classes that have taken some mid-module assessments and some reading assessments. And Ms. Giordano has been going in talking about data with teachers. Ms. Stevenson has as well. And teachers are starting to recommend students for for interventions, and then also for this CARES tutoring. Be on the lookout for some correspondence from your teacher, your child's teacher, that is, if the teacher feels that it's necessary for them to kind of receive some support, additional support, then it will be available and it will be for free. The CARES tutoring program, it's available for kindergarten through 5th grade students for French and English. And it's a great opportunity for kids to get some of that foundational support that they need in order to be a part of that recovery plan that we have in place. Because what we're noticing with our student performance data is that while many of our kids are very successful, we have quite a few who are still showing that virtual instruction and that loss of instruction. I don't want to say loss, but when we were doing the continuity of learning, that they didn't get what they needed. So there's quite a bit of money that's available for us to spend and provide the support for our students. So that's the CARES tutoring. Again, interims October 13th, they'll be available on ParentView. Open house, 199 adults showed up, and professional day is October 24th. And be on the lookout for that CARES tutoring. And that's all I have.
I did want to just close out with saying that Mr. Jane, we're so lucky to have him with us this year. He's doing such a great job already at this time, and the students have built a great relationship with him, so has staff. It is coming that he is going to be asked to really put his skills in practice. And that would be practice being, a principal to make sure he's ready for next year. With that to happen, I need to leave the building for a little bit of time so he gets the true opportunity. So in our November meeting, we would like an opportunity to talk to families so that we can answer any questions, give the timeline, let you know who will be coming, because he will get an assistant principal will come to the school and work to support him while he takes on as principal. I will be going to another school in the role of assistant principal to support another intern that's in the practice time of leadership. So that happens for a duration of time, and then I come back. So you'll be seeing Mr. Jane take over more responsibilities through the month of November, but we would like November to share with you what our timeline is on that in our work together, and certainly answer any questions that families might have.
Yeah, I can definitely add that to the November agenda.
Thank you.
Good, thank you.
One last update. We want to thank the PTA because we had our, what is it called again, Ms. Prin? The training that we did with our paraeducators in recess.
Playworks training.
Playworks
that
training.
Was the company that we got the $5,000 grant for, but we didn't have enough money to pay for their expenses to travel down to train, to help us create a recess that is fun and inclusive and offers students in that way to have a recess that they get whatever they need. So you want to tell them a little bit more about it, Mr. Dane?
Yeah, what we did over the course of several hours, there was somebody who came down from Philadelphia, and he taught us all of these ways to get students to engage in play in a manner that's fun and safe. And it balances out their need to exert that energy while also creating ways to, really support their social emotional needs. So for example, instead of saying, hey, you're out, it was more, good job, nice try. Teaching the proper way to play handball and other really fun games that you could do on the blacktop and on the field. It was really great. The instructor did a wonderful job, and believe it or not, that very next day, at least for 5th grade recess, the paraeducator was trying to play this game called Shipwreck, which is a sort of a gradual release to recess. It's a great visual. Right when you say, all right, go, and you just see those kids run, that's not always the best way to start recess. So there's like a slow release, and a game of Shipwreck was one of the ones that he showed us. You don't play it for too long because you do need to let the kids go, but it kind of sets the tone for recess. Let's see, what else? There is going to be another training. Go ahead.
Yep, that's what I was going to say. You got it. Yep.
There's going to be another training, and there's a constant follow-up. We'll go out there and observe what's happening at recess. But we're very optimistic and excited about the grant. And Ms. Prin, we had enough money, but remember the bylaws of the grant didn't allow us to pay for housing and transportation. So what we did was we took that $500 and we went out and purchased quite a bit of recess equipment.
Thank you. Anything else? Questions, comments for the two principals? All right. Well, thank you very much. We're going to move on now to Ms. Giordano, our reading specialist, who's going to talk a little bit about the shift from balanced literacy to structured literacy. There you go. It's yours.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Maria Giordano, and I am the reading specialist at Maryvale. This is my 15th year at Maryvale. I've taught 4th grade there and 2nd grade, and I've been lucky enough to be a reading specialist there for 9 years. So thank you for allowing me to crash your party and share a little bit about structured literacy. Is it okay if I share my screen? I have a presentation.
Yeah, Erin, you might need to give her.
I'm able to.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, wonderful. All right. So MCPS this year is making a shift in literacy instruction across all elementary schools. And that shift is to structured literacy. So this shift is in a response to research that shows that students in grades K to 5 need explicit and systematic instruction in reading and writing in order to become proficient readers. And it's based on the science of how students learn to read. So while what we are teaching is not changing, the approach that we are taking is what is changing. So there are 3 main characteristics that define structured literacy. The first is that structured literacy is systematic and cumulative, meaning there's a specific scope and sequence that teachers will follow, and that it begins with simpler skills and then builds as students learn those skills to more complex skills. And along with that, they will be provided plenty of opportunities to practice and weave those simple skills and more complex skills together. Explicit means that we are only teaching one skill at a time. In previous curriculums, a lot of lessons combined multiple indicators and students were expected to demonstrate multiple skills within a lesson. So this year moving forward, teachers are really focusing on one skill at a time and modeling it for students, having time for guided practice where they can do it with the student and provide immediate feedback before having the students apply that skill on their own. The third characteristic is diagnostic and responsive, which simply means that teachers will be using the data from formal assessments as well as from their observations working with the students in the classroom in order to create instruction that best meets their students' needs. So those are the 3 main characteristics. You may hear me saying systematic and cumulative and explicit a lot in this presentation. So, all right. So why are we making this shift? Again, structured literacy is backed by research. It's been shown to work for nearly all students, and it explicitly and effectively addresses foundational skills, which is a core need for students to learn how to decode and become fluent readers. So the research shows that 35 to 40% of students learn to read fairly effortlessly and with general reading instruction. 40 to 50% of students require code-based explicit instruction in order to learn how to read. And so that's explicit instruction in letter knowledge, letter sound correspondence, and how to manipulate sounds into words, those sort of skills. And then 10 to 15% of students require that code-based explicit instruction along with a lot of repetition and practice. So by implementing structured literacy and implementing that explicit systematic instruction, our hope is that all students will benefit from this approach.
Ms. Giordano.
Yes.
Could you answer a question that just came in the chat that I think would help contextualize your presentation for a parent? What they're asking, what does decoding and coding mean?
No worries. Great question. So decoding is basically the student's ability to read a word. So to look at a word and know what the letters, what sounds they correlate to, and blend those sounds together in order to read a word. And as students build their ability, then they become more fluent at reading, and those words then start to become words they recognize by sight. Does that help? I can't see everyone, so but love the questions. Keep them coming. I'm sure more will arise.
Maria, you got a thumbs up.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you. I'm not as fluent as our staff development teacher in presenting virtually. But okay, so what do some of those changes look like? So in previous curriculums, phonics was not always a focus of instruction, and many times phonics was taught on an as needed basis and may be taught not in a particular order. So if teachers saw a need from students reading a text, they would teach it, but there wasn't necessarily a scope and sequence to follow. With structured literacy, teachers all have been given a scope and sequence to teach phonics explicitly, and the skills build onto each other as in a systematic way. Part of this shift also includes, we were previously using guided reading in small groups as a way to target students' needs who were still learning how to read and decode words. We learned that level texts, a lot of times the level texts that were assigned to that grade level had skills that students had not yet been taught, and a lot of more complex patterns that they really would not be able to read at that time. So we are moving now to using decodable texts, which follow the scope and sequence of the phonics skills being taught, so that it gives students an opportunity to directly apply the skill that they have learned in context. And we'll talk a little bit more about decodable text in the next slide. Another shift is we are, for our students who are still learning to read, especially in primary grades, we're moving where there's going to be less independent reading time and more increased time with the teacher-led instruction, because it's very important that when students are learning how to read, they are reading with the teacher, so that in order to get that feedback right away. If students are reading independently and they are struggling, that it doesn't necessarily reinforce the skills that they need. And sorry. Yes, structured literacy. This is happening in all grades. And I'll talk a little bit later about kind of where the balance is with phonics in each grade. But it is happening in both French and English. French is just following a scope and sequence of French phonics. And I hope I finished my thought on independent reading. So the last change is rather than having random spelling lists, they will be using spelling lists that are connected to the phonics skills that are being taught at that time in whole group. So again, it allows the skill to be practiced in isolation when they're learning a new sound, in reading with the decodable text, and in writing through the spelling lists. Okay, so again, we are shifting to decodable text because they are focused on the skills that the students are learning at that time. And they allow, because they follow the scope and sequence of the phonics instruction, they allow students to not only apply the new skill, but practice previous skills that they have learned. They also they're not heavily based in pictures. Another thing we learned about level text is that they really led students to guessing what words meant because they were using picture clues very high a lot of the time and not really paying attention to the words that were on the page and the letters and the sounds that they needed to read. And so again, the use of decodable text just allows those students to practice the phonics skills and sounds that they are learning. All right. Okay, so decodable texts are just one type of text that students would interact with. Some students in primary grades may read a decodable text every day. As students get older, they may only be reading a decodable text 1 to 2 times a week, because the focus of the decodable text instruction is really on word recognition. So that is, again, practicing their reading skills, practicing high frequency words, and practicing their automaticity, their ability to recognize words automatically. While we did say we learned that level texts were not the best text to use in order to teach students how to read, they still can be used in small groups with the focus of language comprehension skills. So again, that could be helping students build knowledge on a content, helping students with sentence structure, learning new academic vocabulary, or helping our English language learners with their oral language development. Complex texts are also a type of text that we have been using, and they will continue to be used in K-2. Complex text will be used primarily as read alouds, with second grade transitioning to reading independently. And in 3, 4, and 5, complex texts are used in their daily reading comprehension lessons, again, for the focus of building content knowledge, building vocabulary, helping to develop those critical thinking skills, and also those more complex language structures. So students throughout the day, throughout the week, will have experience with different types of text depending on what their needs are. All right, so this kind of brings me back to, different grade levels have different focuses. While all grade levels do have word recognition instruction, as well as language comprehension instruction, they are weighted differently depending on the grade. So in kindergarten and first grade, primarily in whole group, students are working on word recognition lessons to strengthen their decoding skills, their automaticity, their fluency. However, they still do get access to those complex texts through read alouds so that they can also focus on their language comprehension skills of vocabulary and critical thinking and the reading comprehension standards. In second grade is where we hope to balance out the skills. However, with the shift in structured literacy being new, there is a lot of word recognition work happening right now at the beginning of the year to help strengthen the students' skills in decoding. But second grade is where you hope to kind of balance and transition from decodable text to more complex second grade level texts that students can read independently. And then in third grade, as you see, the focus is more on language comprehension and developing those vocabulary and content knowledge strands. However, we still have students who, all students are still learning more complex phonics at the grade level standard, and you will still have some students who need that extra support and word recognition who need to strengthen their reading skills. That would primarily happen in 3, 4, and 5 in a small group setting. So moving into small groups is going to look different than what we are used to seeing in previous years. Previously, we would have groups of students on a rotating schedule, and they would go to centers or be with the teachers or be working independently at their seat. There will still be some time for small group instruction for students to practice skills that they may be struggling with in whole group, or for English language development, or also for enrichment or extension purposes. But the need would be identified by the teacher based on the data, the diagnostic data. So this doesn't mean that teachers won't be meeting with their students. There will be opportunities during the whole group instruction for teachers to circulate and give feedback and give support. But the small group time, in order to decrease the amount of time that students are working independently, the small group time is going to be shortened during each literacy block. So what that looks like a little bit, again, small groups will be skill-based and based and determined by the data. So that could be a group of students who need to maintain grade level progress, who need reinforcement in a skill that was taught, who need reinforcement in their English language development, or again, who need enrichment. So times may vary. The size of the group may vary. It's not going to be, this is my group that I am with each time. That is probably one of the, along with how we're teaching decoding, one of the bigger shifts that we are making this year. So with that, what's not changing? So again, students are going to be engaged in daily read alouds, using complex texts to build their critical thinking skills, building knowledge around those texts, opportunities still to work with their teacher in small groups or work with peers. They will be writing in response to reading prompts, as well as going through the writing process to write about a topic, and they will still be engaged in enrichment activities. So those are the highlights of our shift, but I am open to, and I can stop sharing my screen so that I can see faces, but I'm open to answering any questions you may have about this shift in literacy. And I apologize if I went through anything too fast. I'm happy to repeat.
Is this MCPS wide, or is it just for Maryvale?
Yes, it's all elementary schools in MCPS.
So, well, when they set up the current, how long ago was it they set up the current literacy program? And
So
yeah, I mean, I was like, that was probably touted as like the greatest thing to do. Is it going to be like, and then in 5 years, we're like, well, these things are way too easy. They're not challenging the students enough. So we got to go back to the level reading.
Yeah, no. So they have made it very clear that they don't want us to think of this as like a pendulum swing. Like we go from one strategy or to another, no one, but you're correct. We did change curriculums about 3 or 4 years ago. And we're still using those curriculums and standards. It's just, like I said, a lot of those lessons combined many skills. And we've learned that really before skills can be combined, students need to be strong in those skills before they can start blending them together. So our goal this year is to look at our pre-existing lessons and curriculum and kind of decouple those skills so that we can explicitly teach it. But because this is an approach, trust me, I hear the same thing from teachers like, oh my gosh, when's the next change coming? We're going to learn something new. And this is going to like, because again, I've been in this county for 15 years. I've been through many curriculums, but our hope is that since this is an approach, that it's something that will stick and that it'll prove to be what is in the best interest of all of our students.
I, for one, know that one of my kids definitely did a lot of the guessing with the pictures. And I felt like it was like, she's really good at guessing.
Yes. That child is not alone.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Yes, Miss Giordano. Hi, I'm Kendra. I'm Lyra's mother.
Hi.
Nice to be with all of you. I'm just curious about how the new approach is going to challenge our higher level readers. And if you could go into a little bit more detail about the groupings, like will she be tasked with helping an ELL learner, or will she be like how it is now currently where she's in a group of similar level readers?
That's a great question. So yeah, so groups are going to be by skill. So if there is a need, as I said, for enrichment, the county still has all the same options for enrichment that we've always had. So teachers can still use, there's inquiry projects that can be done with the group. There's a program called Jacob's Ladder, which really is focused on higher order thinking questions and like, again, kind of building on complexity of questions as they read the text. There's a program called Junior Great Books, which again is complex texts and kind of the more collaborative conversation focus with students. So the shift may be that it's not always going to be the same students every time, but as data is collected, students with similar needs will be grouped together, and not only for support, but also for enrichment purposes. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Is there a specific one that the 5th grade teachers are using now? She's in Ms. Williams' class.
It's really up to the teachers to kind of determine. I know I also forgot to mention there are novel studies as well. So sometimes they'll pick, like I know 5th grade teachers in particular love the inquiry projects because they're connected to the units that they're doing in benchmark. But they also did novel studies last year. So it kind of shifts along with whatever, which the novel studies are connected to units as well. So it kind of shifts along with whatever their learning is at that time.
Thank you so much. She really enjoyed the Hispanic Heritage project that she brought home today, and she started it in class and literally came home from school and went right into a room and did her homework for like over an hour and finished her project. So I'd love to see those continue.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely share the feedback with her teacher. That's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else on this topic? Questions? Well, thank you so much, Mr. Giordano. We really appreciate it. And we're going to welcome. I see some more people have joined since the screen sharing stopped. So we're going to move on to the next item on our agenda, which is a treasurer's update. And really more than even the update, which we absolutely will do, is we do need to have a membership vote on some amendments to the budget. And Keith, I have Acacia here. It's really Keith. Is going to talk through some of this and then ask for a vote. So Keith?
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm Keith Vance. I'm the treasurer. Yeah, so since we voted on the budget last time, there's been some changes that we've had to make to the budget. Some things changed, some things we had on the wrong categories. We had introduced several new programs, and some things got jumbled up on the budget that we voted on. So we needed to make some changes, and those changes are, and then we also made some changes just because it made sense to. So we have some budget changes we need to vote on. So the changes are, we have an increase of $1,700 donation from Safeway, donated just out of the blue to the PTA. So we're going to include that in the budget since we're changing it. So I'm going to add that. And then there's an increase, and there's also an income increase of $1,000 for spirit gear sales. And then there was an increase in cost of goods sold of $1,800 for spirit gear and the school supply kits. The committee expenses remained the same as when we passed the budget last time. The family engagement program, we just decreased that by $690 because it's already the Cougar kickoff already happened, and we didn't do the petting zoo, so we can reallocate that money. And then fundraising expenses increased by $400, adjusted for the full amount of the skate night deposit, and the operational expenses increased by $150 due to the Zoom membership fee. You'd think Zoom would give PTAs free ones, but then program support expenses increased by $835 to cover the teacher support grant. And I think, yeah, if for all eligible staff members, and then it put in a net balance change increase of $205. So the budget's essentially the same. We had to move a few things around. We noticed that there was it didn't balance out right when we were entering in the budget into our financial system. And so we had to come back and make changes. And then there was also just some changes that we could make since we were changing the budget. But the good news is that our financial systems won't allow us to put any things that don't balance out and that don't make sense. It's just that we don't have like a budgeting part of QuickBooks that would allow us to like create a budget in QuickBooks that would then be like, double entry accounting, balance out and everything. And we're doing it in a spreadsheet, which introduces a little bit of potential for error, but I think it's fine. And so this is the budget that I'm sharing. Well, I guess I need a motion to approve the budget.
So Keith, before you do that, for those of you who are on the board meeting, so $1,700 from Safeway is fantastic, but we have some ideas of how we might spend that. And what I'm trying to avoid is needing to come back again to revise the budget once we figure that out. Is there a way to put it? I'm looking at things like other expenses, or perhaps it's family engagement programs, some sort of relatively generic category that we could put a $1,700 expenditure in, so that we could, so for those of you who were on the earlier meeting,
I think it's in here. I think
okay.
that you put it in here. I would avoid going and doing on the fly budget changes.
Right. That's exactly what I'm trying to.
Yeah, we noted the increase in income of $1,700, so it's in here.
So if we go to spend the $1,700 though, do we have a category, some sort of expense category that we can use without needing to come back to the membership for a vote?
I will say yes. I just don't know what that actually is, but yes, we have ways.
Okay.
Keisha's not here right now for me to ask her
Okay.
that specific
And for
question.
those of you who weren't earlier, we got $1,700 from Safeway, which is fantastic after doing the fundraiser in August. And so they have encouraged us to use it toward food insecurity. We're still figuring out exactly what that means, but we're looking at options around the holidays to try and provide baskets or gift cards to families who might need some food for the holidays. But because we're not quite there yet to actually have this idea fully developed, I just wanted to make sure budgetarily we don't have to come back again and again and again. So
I will say this, that is our goal, to not have to come back again and again. So
okay.
I don't know exactly which one of these line items it is, but it is in here as a thing. I wish Acacia was here to answer, but she had to take Arlo's cup to go, so I can do the meeting.
Okay.
But it is there. We generally do plan on a budget amendment again in January, so we do a mid-year adjustment if we ever needed to. So we're not like boxing ourselves in the corner here either.
Right. But, we had this experience over the summer where we had to call an emergency meeting to approve a budget change because we couldn't spend money. I really just want to make sure if we know that we're going to be spending money in the next month, that we somehow have a way to have that in the budget. So I suppose we could take from like some of the other ones that might happen in the spring, like if we decided to do you go down, yeah. Could we do maybe support grants? What are those? Teacher grant? No,
that's where
I'm sorry to derail us.
Yeah, I don't have an answer to the question of where it is, but we created a balanced budget, so
okay.
Money came in and it is allocated.
Okay, that's fine.
Somewhere, but I'm not exactly sure which exact line item that is that $1,700 all went to. I apologize.
Okay. And why don't we move on with the vote?
Oh, here it is. Other donations comes in as income. Yeah. I can get back to you on that. So, yeah, do you want to pass it or do you want to wait till the next? I think we have to pass it, to pass something.
Well, why don't we pass it, and then I guess if we needed to, we'd come back and amend it again next month.
I don't think we're not going to need to.
Yeah, and I think the beginning of November is an okay time to amend it because we weren't really talking about outlaying any costs before then. So
okay.
I'm not convinced that it's in there actually, because you mentioned a couple of other expenses that had gotten omitted. So I think that's how it balanced out.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I think we can sort that out later.
Okay.
I moved to pass it. Oh, Melissa did too. So I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right. Thank you very much. Moving on. So now I am going to share my screen. So are you all seeing the bylaws? Okay. So if you remember, the next item here on our agenda is at the last meeting, at the September meeting, I presented the revised bylaws for consideration. And a month has passed and there have been no changes since last month. So if you had it either in paper or were looking at it digitally last year, this is an opportunity for you to ask any more questions or propose any revisions. And then if there are none, we're going to go ahead and vote to approve these bylaws. And after that, I will submit the bylaws to the state. So we will be in compliance once again with the Free State PTA bylaws. And as a quick reminder, we do this off of the state template. So what you see highlighted in yellow is really the only place we had choices. So everything else that you'll see, well, even the first couple pages, right? You see it's a little bit of a plug and chug in terms of like the name and our address And then we do get to choose along the way various things about how many vice presidents we're going to have, how many secretaries, when we're going to elect the officers, etc. And so this is, and I should also note there's a link in the agenda to the bylaws, and if I can probably drop them in the chat as soon as I stop multitasking and sharing my screen. But I guess really I want to pause and see if there's anybody who has any questions, concerns, or proposed changes to the bylaws. All right, so hearing none, I am going to ask for a motion to approve these bylaws.
I move to approve the bylaws.
A second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, all those opposed, please say nay. Great, wonderful. We have bylaws for the next 3 years. All right, big accomplishment. Thank you very much. And once I submit them, we will be in compliance with the state again, which is even better. All right, so moving along, we're reaching the top of the hour, so we're going to try everything to get out of here by 8 o'clock. Our next update is, well, I have a couple updates here, fundraising, and then I'm going to fold in some updates from the first half of people who were unable to make the meeting today. So let us start with fundraising. Sandra wants everybody to know that the Cougar Cash Drive is live as of today, and it's going through November 16th. So as a quick reminder, this is our biggest fundraiser of the year, and it's just us asking for money for cash. We've heard from a lot of parents, they don't want to sell wrapping paper, they don't want to organize a fun run. So we are just coming to parents and other supporters of Maryvale and saying, will you please donate? Our goal this year is $4,000, and we picked that number very intentionally because that is the exact amount of money that we give to the library every year. So through our marketing and why you should donate, we're trying to say, buy $4,000 in books for our library. And if we meet the goal, Mr. Jane, you get a pie in the face. That is my understanding. Perhaps multiple pies in the face if we surpass the goal. We are soliciting donations on Member Hub and via PayPal, not Facebook this year, because if anybody wants to hear my sob stories of dealing with Facebook customer service to get our money last year, I can entertain you for hours. But hopefully if you're willing to donate through PayPal or through Member Hub. It went up on Facebook today. It's brand new. We're going to have email blasts. It's certainly going to be in the newsletter. There's going to be a flyer sent home. And we're just hoping that we can ask for, whatever you are able to donate to try and support the money. So last year the goal was 5,000 and we did make it, but I'm going to say by the skin of our teeth. And this year we did say 4,000, not because we wouldn't love 5,000. We would be thrilled with 5,000. But again, we actually talked it over and felt like pegging it to that $4,000 in books was a pretty persuasive argument. So I think we got like just over 5,000 last year. It was like 5,000 and like $10 or something just by the skin of our teeth. Then moving on with, the fundraising updates, starting on Halloween, on October 31st, running that week, is going to be our Scholastic Book Fair. And very excitingly this year, we also have partnered with Bonjour Books, and they're going to have French books for sale. So we're going to have English Scholastic, French Bonjour, and then of course we also, and we'll start communicating this shortly, are going to be asking for the donations of used books. If you remember, we sell used books for 50 cents, and then we have the new books as well. And we're very happy to take everybody's donations of used books, age appropriate used books. So we're going to put some boxes in the front foyer. And if your house is like mine, you have a bunch of extra books. Well, convince my husband to give away some of the extra books that we have lying around. We can, put them back into circulation. And this is one thing I think, especially with the French books, as your kids maybe outgrow the French books, there's just fewer French books in circulation. And this is a good way for us to kind of bring them back to the younger grades if your child has outgrown it. Our next restaurant night, I'm sorry, and the other thing on Book Fair is we will need a lot of volunteers. This is our single biggest volunteer heavy thing because the Book Fair is going to run for a week. The 31st, which is a Monday, is set up, and in the afternoon, teachers can come and shop, and that they can fill in their wish list that parents can, fulfill later. But then the real shopping will happen Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then science fair is on Saturday morning. If you haven't signed your child up for science fair, please do so. There's still time. And we'll have the book fair open during science fair. So that's a high traffic, lots of parents and kids in the building time, and also a time to then to shop at the book fair. We're working on exactly how we're going to be advertising this, but look out for Sign Up Geniuses and other requests to volunteer your time to come and work at the book fair. It's work the cash register and scan the items, etc. And the next update from Sandra is that the next restaurant. So we earned it was $300 from Lido, I think it was, and they rounded up, which is fantastic. It was like 256 or something, and they gave us a little extra money. And our next restaurant night will be at Silver Diner on Thursday, November the 10th, for takeout or dine in at Silver Diner. So I'm going to pause there. I have some other updates from other committee chairs, but anything on fundraising, questions, comments, concerns? All right. On programs and events, Tyler, you're still on, great. So we have some tentative movie night dates. Tyler is going to be our movie night chair. So we are looking at December 9th and February 17th, which are both Friday nights, to do indoor movie nights. And then looking at perhaps April 14th, which I know seems so far away, but to bring back an outdoor movie night. Well, we'll have to look at like weather and everything by then, but that was the hope that maybe we could have an outdoor movie night. And so Ms. Prin, I have a question for you about space. I was a movie night person back in the holding school, and I never actually reserved space or paid for space. If we do this on a Friday night, do we need to go through the CUPF, or can we just ask you? I really don't.
So
I wasn't
if you
sure.
want to confirm it, right, you would have to go through ICP because that holds it for you.
Okay.
So if I have to check into it. If I just say, yes, you can use it, then somebody wants to rent it from the community, it would bump. I think okay. The only way to hold that spot is reserved, but I would have to check with ICB, okay. And I can do that as a check. I'll put that on my list.
Okay, thank you. Great. And then just the Spiritware update, 1 minute left, is the online Spirit store is selling well. Melissa, hopefully you got your shirt, the right one. It is, we just heard that we have $408 in profits. It's not a huge, oh, glad you love your shirt. It's not a huge profit margin per item. And that's something, next year, if we want to revisit, like increasing prices by $1 or so. But I think it's exciting just to have these options. And, I'm seeing a lot of orders come in and then people wearing the sweatshirts as it gets cooler and that sort of thing. The one thing that we said we have to probably advertise more is it is a bit of a delay in the sense it's about a month between when you place your order and you get it ish, depending. So we just need to make sure we're setting expectations of that. They are custom made by actually a former Maryvale mom who does these on the side. And so we all kind of get used to Amazon, and this is not Amazon, but I think it's working out well. And we're also looking at, prior to the holidays, bringing in a French shirt, and then by popular demand, maybe a pink shirt. Apparently there's this hidden demand for pink shirts that I have boys I was unaware of. So more to come on that, but we're actually working with, if you remember, Benjo, who won our design costume contest last year. He's in the English program, but he is such a talented artist and loves graphic design that I talked with him on the side to see if he'd be interested in designing a French t-shirt so that we could add that to the stock. So more to come on that. I don't have a date. I can't promise it at any given time, but we are trying to enhance the selection on the online store. All right. And then I think the only other two things on here, I already mentioned science fair. If you haven't signed your kid up, please do so. Even if the kid doesn't want to do it, they can come see all of the cool science fair, science projects. And then we have our next Cougar story time on Wednesday, October 26th, to do scary stories, moderated by our very own Teresa Clark. So it's 8:01, I almost made it. Any questions, comments, other topics? I know people might need to drop, but feel free to take this time to open forum, mention anything you might need to say.
Thank you all so much. Have a good night, and I'll try to continue joining as much as I can now that I have a regular school teacher schedule.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, ditto. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of the night.
Bye.
All right, bye, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Good night, everybody. Take care.